You said your father was a bare knuckle fighter. Um, how did he get into doing that, and how long was he doing it for?
So he probably longer than he needed to. I'll tell you that.
All right.
So at the time his dad was a mean drunk, a real mean drunk. And so he would go to the bar to pick him up. And it kind of escalated into fights.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually it became, they would pay you to fight. And
Mm-hmm.
and so I want to say he was 17
Yeah.
when that started. And he had a flavor for it. There was no UFC,
Yeah. Yeah.
but can you imagine if my dad was a UFC fighter?
Well, that's probably the route
BJJ,
he
you
would
know what I'm
have. That's
saying?
probably the route he would have went into if he was, born today. If he was around today, that's probably the route he would have went into. You
Well, they
know.
didn't let him wear flip flops in the UFC,
No,
so I'm
yeah,
not sure.
we'll get to that story. We'll get to that story. Yeah, that's right. We'll get to that story. Yeah, yeah.
so,
Believe me, I probably
so
know
he,
all the stories already, but I just, it's unbelievable. We'll get to why I don't know why they were so much tougher back then.
but
But
so I'll say that he bare knuckle fighted. I want to say, and Brian Blair and I had this conversation maybe 6 months ago after Dad passed, and um, you know, and we talked about it when we were at the Cauliflower Alley Club, and Brian would say, "Dude, you just don't understand. Like, it was like Fight Club, and
mhm.
your dad whooped everybody's butt,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like
He had a reputation of
over
being
and over."
yeah, yeah, yeah. He had a reputation of being really, really tough. And since we're on the topic, the two names that stood out to me the most from the interviews that I've seen, not of him, but other people talking about him, which in my mind makes it even more which makes it even more real is when other people are talking about you, not yourself, was um Tony Atlas, where he kicked the shit out of him. And the other one was Vader, where he kicked the shit out of him. Those are the two that stood out. There were probably others. There were probably more,
Oh,
because
there's a list. No, I'm
yeah,
not, John. I'm not kidding, bro.
yeah, yeah,
There's
yeah.
a list. Dad had it, and so you have to understand. I got my dad. My dad. In fact, my dad and Brian Blair were there when I was born.
Mhm.
Like, they were in the room, and Brian always tells me the story. He's like, Paul, your dad goes, "Hey, is that one mine? He's got a lot of hair. It's black. You sure?" Years later, I get my DNA test and I'm 73% Italian. And I'm like, Dad, Orndorff kind of sucks. Turns out it's hill people and it's northern Italy. So
Oh
so
wow,
most people
really?
with the last name Orndorff are Italian.
Oh, wow. Oh shit, I
Yeah.
did not know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
completely. Now my dad looked like a complete Viking,
Yeah, right,
but
right.
I call America the Red, if you will. But he fought for money, but he
Mm-hmm.
also fought to, I think, keep his mind sane, that
Mm-hmm.
he could overcome his demons.
Yeah, well, I think you go into one or two. I think you go into one or two ways when that's something that tragic happens. You either crawl up into yourself and become depressed and suicidal, or you as a boy you probably lash out and you become physical. Like we've heard stories of your dad. We heard stories of Mike Tyson. You go down the line of
Right.
I mean
And
you
Mike had a coach that
right.
really centered his anger. My dad was a little different. It was just
Yeah.
kind of sporadic anger.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to make sure I give my grandfather credit, Brosley Maxwell.
Mm-hmm.
If not for my father getting my mom pregnant, he would have not had a stable force in his life like my grandfather, that took him from all these, random bar fights and bare knuckle fights and football, and said, "Let me talk to Hiro Matsuda for you."
Okay.
And
Now,
and so focus his discipline, if you will.
right. Yeah. And I think a lot of young boys need that. I think a lot of young boys need, and that's why they go into football and UFC and so on and so forth.